Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm joined today by Lee O'Brien, who is a co-director for David Lee Estate and Letting Agents in Hertfordshire. Thanks for joining me today, Lee.
Thanks for having me.
I'd like to ask you your story of being an estate agent from man and boy,
Yeah.
the ups and the downs, the trials and tribulations, so we can help the boys and girls out there in estate agency land not make the mistakes you did and celebrate the successes that you've had. How's that sound?
Yeah, brilliant.
You left school in 2002. Did you always want to be an estate agent?
Yeah, I was actually already working in an estate agency when I left school. So I did sixth form. There's 2 years to kind of decide what you're going to do with your life rather than any real focus. I did 2 years of sixth form, and in my second year of sixth form, I started working in a local independent agency on a Saturday. And
was that just a Saturday job and you just thought, oh, I'll go for that? Or did you specifically say, I always want to be an estate agent?
No. I got sort of driven into it by a family friend who said, my brother-in-law owns an agency, and I think you'd be really good at it. Okay. I'm going to talk to him.
And you just really wanted some beer money, did you?
Just beer money.
Good stuff. Can you remember your first day as an estate agent?
I can, yeah. It involved stuffing lots of envelopes, as was the way that we were doing it.
So that would be 2000, 2001, so we're still sticking photos on brochures?
No. Well, we were just in that transition period of sticking photos onto brochures and photocopying them in black and white and actually having colour copies printed.
God, you remember the old days?
They took ages to print.
And the colour photocopies were the price of a Ford Fiesta.
They
were amazing. So you were doing your A-levels. How well did you do on those?
Not very.
Okay.
I was doing business studies, and I've got to be honest, I don't actually remember what I got.
Okay then. All right. So had you decided in the upper six that estate agency was for you?
It was where I was going. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you got some indescribable, unmemorable grades at A-level.
It really was unmemorable.
Okay then. What did your parents think to that, or were they happy with the fact that you knew what you wanted to do?
I think they were happy that I had a bit of direction as to where I was going to go and what I was going to do. So I don't think they were terribly disappointed that I hadn't done amazingly well. But
all your friends from St Mary's were going to be going off to university, weren't
everybody went to uni. They were, yeah. The teachers were literally forcing me to put an application into university. And I think I was probably only one of a handful that didn't go to university at the end of sixth form.
Were you glad you didn't?
Yeah. I don't think it was quite right for me. I don't think the range of courses and things that were available at the time suited what I needed to be able to take myself off into the world. So I don't think it was appropriate education for me at that point.
So did you join the firm that you were doing the part-time photos?
No, I didn't. He promised me a job, but it never really gave me a contract or and never really put anything firm in place. And my time in sixth form was coming to an end quite quickly, and I got a little bit nervous. So I made up a CV and I did the walk of the high street, and I went into all of the high street branches and put forward my CV, saying that I was coming to the end of my sixth form and I was ready to start work in what would have been probably a June or July time.
How did it make you feel that your boss didn't follow up with their promise?
I was probably more nervous than anything because I didn't really have a fallback plan at that time because I hadn't applied for university despite the pressure to apply. So I didn't have a plan B. I was going into agency, but without a formal contract.
Can you remember the time that you walked through the estate agent's door with your CV?
Well, I can. I'm notably the one that actually got me the place that I eventually joined. It was a very gregarious senior negotiator, he's probably assistant manager at the time, on the very front desk, the prime desk, and he knew that I was working next door, effectively, or 2 doors up, and I think took a bit of pride in saying, don't worry, I'll get you an interview with my area manager, I'll make sure that happens, to just essentially nick me from the competition. And then I got silence for about 2 to 3 weeks and nothing happened. So I started to phone him every 3 to 4 days.
The area manager or the senior
The assistant manager, to say, look, have you managed to talk to John? Was his name at the time? I'm not sure I knew his name at the time, but have you managed to talk to John to see whether I can come and interview for a negotiator role? And yeah, don't worry, I'll sort it for you. I'll sort it. Don't worry. Probably put the phone down and just got straight into whatever else he was doing and forgot. So yeah, I phoned him every 3 or 4 days for about 2 to 3 weeks, until I finally got an interview with the area manager. And
Do you think that was a test?
It would have been a good test, but I don't think it was a test. I think he was just busy.
Okay. So, did you get any interviews with anyone else?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It was my only interview in another agency. It wasn't any other.
And that was William H. Brown, which is part of Connell Sequence.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. How did that interview go?
It went well. Yeah, the area manager was a great guy. We connected around both being involved in rugby, and he seemed to like me and gave me the chance and opportunity to be a negotiator in that.
And was that still in your hometown?
It was in the branch that I went into, yeah. So it was a Hoddesdon branch of William H. Brown.
Hoddesdon, which is near where in Hertfordshire,
it.
isn't it? Okay. So, how was your first year? You were an egg in?
It was good. I did get a bit of a shake after being there for about 2 to 3 weeks of, look, come on, you need to pick up your pace. But from that moment, I was just in the rhythm. I suppose you don't really know necessarily what the rhythm should be in a business, and I was doing what I thought I was right, and actually I needed to pick it up a level.
Okay, I mean, this was 2002, 2003, so the property market was bumbling along quite nicely at this point, wasn't it?
Yeah, really doing well.
Some would even say that any old neg could have done well in that market.
yeah, quite possibly.
So, you were still a neg. Did you start valuing at this point, or still?
No. I didn't start valuing at all while I was at William H. Brown.
Okay. So, you got to the age of 20, 2004, as a neg, and you started your own estate agency with a colleague.
Yeah.
20 years old, starting your own estate agents?
Yeah, I was 20.
Fool? Or was it foolish?
I think.
Who did you set up the business with?
So I partnered
those that might not know.
with David, who worked in the same branch as me. He was effectively...
Branch manager?
No. He was
valuer?
No, he was the senior negotiator. So
neither of you had any valuing experience?
No. David did have valuing experience before we left, but had been valuing for around 6 months before we left.
Right, so let's just get this point. We've got a senior neg who does a bit of holiday cover valuing for 6 months, not the full-time listener,
Yeah.
and we've got a neg who's 20 years old who's been doing it for a couple of years, who's wet behind the ear. Brave.
Naive.
Okay. What made you do that?
I felt that we were limited in our development, so
Well, then go and get another job with one of the other corporates.
But then I think you fall into the same trap.
Okay.
If there is an established branch. So we were in a very established branch that had a very, very capable assistant manager and a super capable branch manager who'd been there 30 plus years. There was no upward movement within that branch. They would have moved us to another branch, but the branch we were working in was a flagship branch that was very successful, and we did really well there. I didn't really want to go and potentially move to another branch and
3
either
miles
get
up the road?
stuck.
But 3 miles up the road to where? Because how many? It isn't that far. Were you that stuck in that you wanted to work in Hoddesdon?
Yeah,
Wow. Were you still at home at this point?
I was, yes.
And your business partner, he was still at home?
Just, yeah. He moved out quite quickly, but yes, he was.
Okay, so did you set up an office space?
We did. We took an office.
Where did you get your money from?
We both took personal loans to create a pool of money to start our business.
Were you not scared?
I wasn't actually.
Although at 20 years old, you probably haven't seen
It
much
was,
in life.
yeah, exactly. I
How
think
much did you borrow?
15 grand each,
Wow.
which lasted about 8 weeks. And then we had to go and get some more. So yeah, we undercooked that. We really undercooked that. But the financial advisor in the office came with us as well, and he left the business. We were encouraged to actually start the business by a secretary, because we were talking one day about what to do and where to go, and maybe a bit of
The
frustration.
good old days when there was a secretary and an estate
Yeah,
agent. Wow.
and the secretary said, well, you two should go and do it on your own then. And we went, all right, maybe we should.
Do you think you'd have done it if you were a bit older?
No.
Was it really just a case of, sod this, let's do it?
Yeah, I think there is a great naivety when you're young, you're confident in your ability, but I didn't have lots of exes, you know. I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have any kids. So there was some of that, which I know can be a blocker in later life.
What did your parents think to you by doing this?
They were really supportive.
Are they business people themselves, or?
Yeah, both business people. Well, business people. My mother had her own business. My father was a builder, like a self-employed carpenter builder. So
their help was basically you paying £10 a week rent or something like that.
Yeah, well, I was paying rent to them, but yeah, they weren't able to sort of financially support me, but from that real support you need from your parents in terms of you can do this. I know you can do this. They helped me get things set up right.
I mean, what was the most important thing that your mum and your dad separately taught you in business and life?
I think it's the confidence to take chances and to be your own boss and drive in your own lane. They've always done that, and I've sort of seen that in their life, and I don't think I'd have it any other way.
But separately between your mum and your dad, which is there one that's more dominant in one respect of your life or the other?
No, I don't think there is,
Okay.
actually. I don't think there is.
Okay, so back to you starting your own agency in 2004. What was the first year like?
Enjoyable, actually. We got off to a bit of a shaky start. We opened the business on the Saturday in September, and we had got together a load of leaflets, and we tried to get them out, get them into the market as we were launching on the Saturday. And we had run out of time. We were fitting the office until about 2:00 in the morning of the Saturday, getting things ready and getting it right. So the day before, I paid my sister to go and deliver the rest of the leaflets to let people know we were open. She delivered through all the doors that she could think of, still had some leaflets left, so decided to start tucking them under window wipers. Overnight, it rained. And then the very next day in September, it was a bluebird, bright, sunny day. So the very first phone calls we started to receive at 9:01 on our very first day of opening, which we thought were business, were actually complaints that we'd put stickers on people's cars. Because the laminate had sort of melted and then had hardened in the sun. So we were getting phone call after phone call saying, "You've put a sticker on my car. Who do you think you are? You put a sticker on my car." So these phone calls were coming in every 10 minutes from the minute we opened. So profusely apologising, and David went out on our first day in his finest suit with a scraper and some window lean and a cloth, and was literally going to everywhere that he could that we were either getting complaints for or for ones that he could see on the road, and spent the morning scraping off leaflets, which was well intended but didn't quite go to plan.
So how did you get your first set of business apart from putting stickers on people's cars?
We knocked on doors.
Okay.
We spoke to people. We let them know what we did. We explained how we were doing it differently to the established agents in the market, and we were given opportunities to bring things on. We actually put one of our first houses was a chap that walked in to us on the first day that we opened. And his house wasn't even in our town. We'd opened in Stansted, Mount Fitchett, a village, and his property was in Bishop's Stortford. And he came in, he went and saw our mortgage advisor, and we went and
Hold on a second. You said to me that you wanted to stop in Hoddesdon, but why did you go over to Stansted, Mount Fitchett?
Because we both lived in Bishop's Stortford, which was about a 25-minute drive.
Okay.
And we didn't want to open against the people that we'd worked for.
Why is that?
It was a very competitive market.
Okay, but
Very
every
competitive
every
market.
town's competitive. If I had
No,
a pound,
not so
if I had a
much.
pound for every time someone said my town's different,
No. No, I don't think it was. I don't think every town is competitive. This town was particularly competitive, and I didn't want to be the brand new agent in that town.
Okay.
So we felt there was a better opportunity in the village that we chose, which was much closer to where we both lived, and we had a more of a personal network there as well. And there was sleepy agents there, and there was a better opportunity for us to go in and shake things up.
Do you think you'd have opened up the business if you didn't have a business partner in David?
No, I think the business partner helped massively.
Okay, why is that?
I think you need each other a lot, actually. I think you need to be able to talk things through.
What does David bring to the party that you don't?
Well, I go like that, and David sort of goes like that, and often we find ourselves somewhere in the middle. So I can have ideas and head off on a tangent, and David sort of brings us back and causes us to think about it a bit longer and make maybe some corrective sort of behaviour before stepping forward. So it doesn't really hinder our progress, but it does cause us to really consider some of those decisions that if I was on my own, I might have just made. So it definitely, we work really quite well in a balance.
Okay, so the first few years were really good. Let's move on. How did you get affected with the credit crunch and the housing market going belly up?
So we didn't really see a great change in activity until probably 2009 in our business. So obviously it was August 2007, and it wasn't really till 2009 that things thinned out. And I think we kind of just got back to doing what we did at the start, and
Got back to the basics.
back to the basics.
You'd be amazed how many agents don't, what got them there. They don't carry on doing it, do they?
Yeah, and you sort of fall away from that. And the people in my business are really quite good at just hunkering down in tough times. And sometimes we don't realise that we were in quite so tough times until we're out the other side of them. So I don't think we ever had that realisation moment of, what's going to happen to the business. We all just sort of tightened up and got to the work. And then it's when you look back, you think, wow, well, that was tough.
Did you enjoy those times?
Yeah.
You still got the one office at this time?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we opened our second office in 2010.
Okay. So what made you open up the second office? Because they often say the second office is the difficult one. Or sometimes it can be the third one.
Yeah. I think the second office was in the neighbouring town of Bishop Stortford. We were doing a hell of a lot of business there, and we were starting to establish ourselves across both areas. Okay. And it was of a time where we felt we needed an office to be a presence in that market.
Okay.
And we got a good office in a good location without paying sky-high rent, and it was a good opportunity for us.
Did you split the two offices up so one ran one and one ran the other? So really, it's not as if you were opening a second branch cold. Because you were splitting the equity partners. Yeah. Okay. How did that go? Did that change the relationship in any way between you and David?
No, it meant that we didn't work side by side anymore. So we had to make more conscious effort to meet regularly and discuss things. And that didn't change the dynamic, but it was a dynamic that we knew we had to focus on keeping that conversation going.
Okay, so 2010s, 11, 12s, the housing market is cracking on really nicely. When did you open up the third office?
2015.
Where was that?
Dunmo.
Okay, now, who did you open that up with?
So I moved to Dunmo.
Yep.
Sean, my cousin, who was our first employee in 2005, had built his way up to being the branch manager of our Stansted office. So Sean was managing Stansted, David was at Bishop Stortford, and I went to Dunmo.
Many people say that you should only open a second office if you're either putting an equity partner in or a mini-me, someone who gets the company culture. By the sounds of it, you did that.
Sean was a mini-me, yeah.
Okay. Would you ever have you ever opened up a branch where you've basically parachuted someone in?
I haven't, no.
No. Would you ever do that, or would you ever consider doing that?
I wouldn't now, because I think things have changed. But I think having somebody that's already part of your business to open that new branch is quite important, rather than bringing somebody in brand new, to be able to carry over.
So how did it go with Sean then?
Well, he did really well. He did good. He'd worked in Stansted ever since he started with us, and he'd always remained in that branch. So he'd gone through multiple transactions with clients, was all about town really. He knew the area really well. Obviously knew and bought into our culture because he helped create it from the beginning. And yeah, it took it off. It went well.
Okay. But then tragedy hit, didn't it?
It did. Unfortunately, Sean was the victim of a hit and run traffic accident. He was helping a friend change a tyre on a car and was standing at the rear of the car, and a driver, he was looking in the boot, and a driver hit him from behind and crushed him against the car, and then backed off of him and drove away and left him on the floor. His friend was also looking in his boot of his car, and he got crushed in the middle of the two cars. So both guys are on the floor. The car drove away, and they were essentially left for dead. He lost 5 pints of blood on that evening. The air ambulance came in, and essentially they cut both of his legs off around the knee to save his life, essentially. And it was just the biggest blow to the business.
Did they ever catch the man or woman?
They did. They caught him after about a week. It was due to Facebook that they caught him. So a chap returned from holiday, had seen all of the reposting on Facebook to try and find the car. They'd taken paint samples out of Sean's leg, and they realised that it was a Ford Focus. I think it was a blue Ford Focus, and they'd put lots of detail into this Facebook post. He came back from holiday, realised his neighbour's car had the damage on the front, and he reported it to the police. The police went round there. The guy was still drunk, tried to get away, and yeah, they managed to catch him, and he served, well, his sentence was 5 years. He didn't quite serve that, but they did catch him.
Before we come on and talk about how it affected the business and what you learned from it, how was your cousin?
He's doing really well. He ran the London Marathon 4 weeks ago. Lovely. So on blades, he's a fantastic athlete. He's really, really tenacious chap.
Is he still in the business?
No.
Okay.
He never came back to the business.
Never came back. He took his career in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, he literally didn't have time for a career with rehabilitation and the work that was required to get back on his feet and to help move his life forward. There wasn't a room for a career at that point, and certainly agency is not going to be particularly.
But he's in a good place.
He's in a great place. He's in a really good place, doing super well.
Lovely. Let's come back to you and the business. Taking out both a family member and a key employee, how did that affect you as a man, and David as well, and the business?
It was a bit like someone had pulled the rug under you from your ideas in terms of where you thought you were going with the business and the vision that you had for the business. So I think I'm always trying to think a year, 2 years ahead, and so we're always kind of looking in that, and it was just blown apart. Our idea of how we saw this business moving, and the trust that we had in Sean's ability and his relationship with his staff had been removed from that, and it really shook, I think, every member of the team. We had 2 members of the team leave, just because they were reassessing life and just decided that wasn't quite right, and they left. And I don't, again, a bit like the other moments in life, I don't think we realised quite how badly it affected everybody in the office until a year or so later. But it really stemmed what we were doing. It was great as the team rallied around, which they do, but I do think it had a big effect on the business as a whole.
What did you learn from it?
I think rather than learn, mate, I was inspired actually by Sean's reaction to his accident, of which we lived very closely with him in that recovery. And I think he gave us that tenacity and that real focus on recovery. And he was going through his journey of recovery, and we had to figure ourselves out in our own business.
So what did you do to, on practical terms, to basically make sure that Stansted was being led?
Yeah, so we had a change around in the order of how we did things. So we shuffled actually. So there was another senior member of the team that we allowed to run our Dunmore office. I moved back to Stortford, David moved back to Stansted, and we, rightly or wrongly, that's how we took the business forward from there.
Okay, so that was 15. Let's move the clock forward, and I want to talk about a couple of things. One, your choice to go down the self-employed model, and two, to relocate your offices into a farmyard.
So the thinking around looking at the model change for us actually started as far back as 2015. I have always been interested in how the business works and operates, so I've always kept an eye on what things have been going on. One of the first people that I saw to do it in the UK in a way that I liked was actually Hortons. And I saw that and thought that actually that has definitely got some legs in this market to prevent people from getting stuck as we did in our branches, and allow them to create sort of businesses within a business with the protection and support of a business, but allow them that growth potential that they can control themselves. So it took us time to decide what that was going to look like for us in our business.
Okay. Was David behind you at this point? Because he was the one that basically reins you in a bit.
Yeah, so I think I probably went off on a bit of a journey for a while before David sort of took notice of what the thinking was going. Because at this point we had 3 branches, we had lots of staff, there was other things to be concerned with. But in my view, we needed to start changing the way our business looked and the structure of our business to be able to support great agents going forward. They're the employed agents at the time, because we had obviously we still got employed agents, and there were employed agents at the time, and we had to centralise systems, branches, and there was a bit of a process that we had to go through in order to.
Did you close all your high street branches and move into the modern unit?
We did. So we had to do that in 2 stages. So we had to close 1 office first and move all the staff into 2 offices, and then we had to close the 2 offices to move into the farm.
And before we go back to the self-employed model, moving away from the high street, did it have any material difference to your business?
No.
None whatsoever?
No.
Because again, there's a lot of people. I mean, I was talking to an agent this morning who was about to sign a lease for a very expensive unit on a nice road in a nice suburb of one of the big cities in the UK. And I said, what the hell are you doing that for? It's just ego.
Yeah, I think
we all like our name in life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it kind of just depends on the type of business that you're going to run. For some people that can really make a high street office work and can bring community in there and do it. I think if you're doing it just to have the pictures of houses on a high street, that's not the right reason.
Okay, let's come back to the self-employed model. It's a model which I'm a big fan of for the right people. How long have you now been doing it?
Since July last year. So 2020.
So the summer of 2020. So you've been doing it now for 15, 16 months. How many agents do you now have working? 9. What advice would you give to any boss who's considering starting a self-employed model? Most importantly, what would you, from what you've learned, what would you not do again? What mistakes did you make?
I suppose the only mistakes that I think have been detrimental, obviously little changes are always happening along the way.
What would you
the
do
program is not complete, and I don't think it ever will be.
No, never. Okay, but what would you do differently? Okay, I want the people out there in estate agency land to learn something from you
Yep.
about, let's be honest, there's plenty of people out there who are giving it the bollocks and they're oh, it's happy, yeah, happy. It bloody well isn't.
Yep.
Okay. And we're going to do some videos about with some of your colleagues who are self-employed agents who are going to be sitting there afterwards. I want to ask you specifically, what would you do differently up to this point?
In the hiring process is one of the biggest moments of this whole journey, because you've got to bring the right people into the program. And I think I let a few people that have come and gone, which it has happened in our business. I don't think they should have ever joined in the first place. And I think there were red flags that I did not pick up on.
Share with me some of those red flags.
There was a health issue that was half flagged to me, that I don't think I took seriously enough, that how much impact that could have had. There was a slightly shadier character that turned out to be a shady character, but I think I passed it off as a bit sort of cocky and
What about estate agents who are very good at converting but not necessarily getting the business in the first place? Have you had any of those?
Yeah, I think people need to understand where those listings have come from and how the self-employed estate agency model does require you to be very good at the prospecting side as well as the listing and the living room side. So we take a lot of time, and probably even more time now, to really try and get that across, because I don't want any surprises. I don't want somebody to join our program and turn around to me at the end of week one and go, so where are my leads? There will be a certain amount of leads that come and are generated through the business and some of the activity that we do. But the lion's share of those leads are self-generated and self-promoted leads.
And what do you bring to the party that other models don't bring?
So we bring a lot of financial support around the marketing efforts. So we help the agents secure new business by paying for letter-based prospecting features that they can plug into and use, and we pay for the letters, we pay for the leaflets, we provide them with leaflets at the beginning, we provide them with sale boards at the beginning, brochures, business cards, some of the sort of upfront expenses that are required to get you off the ground and give you some tangible things to talk about in the market, we pay for and provide. We've got an amazing support in terms of the physical one-to-one support in our business, where myself and David take lots of time with the associates to help and support them. We've got Russell Jarvis is one of our external mentors that is highly involved with the program and talks and coaches the associates. We've got a head of high performance in our business, Leanne, whose sole job is to try and help everybody level up a little. In whatever little margins we can gain, she works with all of our team, associates, main office, everybody together. Her main aim and only aim is to raise the performance of everybody involved in the business. And we have a business coach as well that works with them on the finances, the tax, the company structure and their obligations as a director, to help them with the business side of things. The last thing we want is somebody to do really well, be banking great money, and then get a god-awful tax bill or a personal tax bill that they just simply weren't expecting. So we have agency coaching, we have general sort of well-being coaching, and we have that business coaching side of things as well. So that's a real addition, I think, that we give that not all of the others do.
So you're in your mid-late 30s.
Late 30s, yeah.
Okay. If you sit here in 10 years' time, what will I see?
So we plan to grow our business. We've got a 5-year vision of our business rather than a 10-year vision at the moment. Okay. And we plan to grow our associate network to 100 associates across the UK. And we will build our support and systems and team around that as it grows. And that's my sole aim at the moment, is to spread the word about our program, to make sure that people are considering it when they're making the choice, and continue to support the agents that we've got to build fantastic lives and grow businesses of their own that they've got full control of.
Lee, thank you for your time today. I can confirm that Lee nor no one from his business has paid any money to sit on the sofa. No one ever pays anything to sit on the sofa. It's just that I've been following him for quite a while. We get on like a house on fire, and I wanted to invite him, along with a couple of other of his associates, to find out their story. As I said, I'm very passionate about the self-employed model for the right people. And I think it was important to interview him. So thank you for your time today. You've been an absolute star.
Thank you so much. Cheers.